Who's this guy?
Morning.
You're not on some kind of crazy race today? How did you find time to come here?
Well, we live here.
The IONNA EV charging network was born out of a collaboration of 8 large automakers: BMW, Mercedes, General Motors, Stellantis, Toyota, Honda, Kia, and Hyundai. All 8 companies put a bunch of money in a pot, basically, and said, let's light up North America with high-speed DC fast chargers for electric vehicles. And the name IONNA comes from ions in North America. Now, last week, IONNA had its first media day at its Durham, North Carolina headquarters, and I was one of the journalists that attended. A few days ago, I posted a video of a presentation that IONNA executives made. There was Seth Cutler, Riccardo Stamati, Aaron Wolf, Dan Bryant, and Phil Rach on a discussion panel, basically talking about IONNA's plans and how they're going to execute those plans. Now, I had originally planned on including that discussion in this video here today. This is kind of like my overview of the day. But that discussion panel went on for 1 hour and 45 minutes. There was no way that I could include it into this. So I made it a standalone video. And judging from the comments, I think a lot of my followers appreciated that. It kind of gave people a behind the scenes look at what happens at these press conferences, and it allowed people to view the entire thing. Now, of course, there were some people saying, geez, Tom, this is longer than a full-length movie. Can't you compress it down for us? But there's a lot to be said there, so I thought it would be better to have the viewers be able to watch the whole thing. So today's video here is kind of be an overview of the whole day's events. And I'm also going to speak with a few representatives from the OEMs that are founding members of IONNA. Now, I'm also going to post another video about this day, maybe in about a week, because the partners, at least 7 of the 8 partners, Honda was the only company that couldn't send a representative to this. And don't read anything into it, because I spoke to IONNA about this, wondering why Honda wasn't at this first media day. It was just a matter of scheduling. They couldn't get somebody to come to the event. So I was a little concerned at first, thinking, is Honda not happy with what's going on with IONNA? Evidently, that's not the case. They just couldn't get anybody here to this event. So there was a discussion panel with 7 of the 8 founding members. Each company had a representative. And that video itself is almost 1 hour long. I recorded the whole thing. So I'm going to make another video. You're going to get 3 videos out of IONNA Media Day here on State of Charge. But today's video is basically going to be walking around, taking a look or giving you a tour of IONNA's headquarters, and then speaking with a few representatives from the companies, and also Seth Cutler, the CEO of IONNA. That said, let's get into it. Hello from Durham, North Carolina, at a familiar location. You might recognize this spot here because I was here about a month ago when I interviewed Dan Bryant, the SVP of Site Operations for IONNA, and also Phil Rach, the Chief Engineer of Charging Technology. This is the foyer to IONNA's headquarters in Durham, North Carolina. Let's do a walk around. We'll go into their main offices. Today's media day, it's really the first official media day that IONNA has, where they've invited the media to come down to their headquarters, and they're going to have a couple presentations. There's going to be representatives from the different automakers that are founding members, and then we're going to have an opportunity to chat with them, check out the quarterback lab, which I was in the last time I was here, and then also talk with company executives. So let's take a walk around so you can see what IONNA's headquarters looks like. Over here, when you look through those windows there, that's their quarterback lab. That's where the engineers are. Now, walking around the office, this is where all of the other employees, the non-engineer employees, work. But I do like the fact that you can see right through to where the engineering lab is. IONNA told me they did that specifically so that the engineering department didn't feel like they were kind of a different company. They were always going to be part of the same office space, even though they were in a different area over there. Okay, so over here, got some more people working. In the back corner here, They have some private offices. You see the people working behind that glass there. I like that they have the quiet space. And then let's walk around here. I mentioned this the last time that I came here, which I think is really cool. This is the famous IONNA gong. Every time they put fences up on a new location or they turn on the power, energize a new site, somebody bangs the gong, and the whole place knows that they have another site that's been opened. And I have been told that one employee, which I won't name, has been banned from banging the gong because he hits it too hard and startles everybody in the office. Okay, so let's take a walk over to the technology lab. The quarterback lab is what they call it. And behind me over here is Nico Electric. She's shooting her video. Hey, Lacey. So let's take a walk over to the quarterback lab where all of the engineering happens. Okay, through the vestibule. There is another way to get over to the other side, but we need a key to get in. And for today, they've opened this door so that we can walk right in here. All right, so let's walk around. And over here, we've got the big inventory of Alpatronic HYC 400s, which is what IONNA uses throughout their network. They're great units. These guys over here are, I guess, working on one right now. And then we've got representation from all of the companies. We've got Toyota here. We've got Mercedes, Kia, Hyundai, BMW, and then the Hummer for General Motors. And finally, we've got BMW in the corner, the founding members of IONNA. Seems like we've got some tables set up here for today. That's for later on. We're going to have a session over here. And then behind us here are where all of the engineers are typically working. I guess today they gave them the day off, but when I came here the last time, they were all working over here, and this is where I interviewed Phil Rach. He is the chief engineer, so I thought it was appropriate to interview him in the engineering lab. Okay, well, that's a walk around for IONNA's headquarters down here in Durham, North Carolina. Let's jump into the day's festivities. From what I understand, we're going to have a few presentations, and then we're going to have some Q&As with company representatives. And look who just walked in. Who's this guy?
Morning.
You're not on some kind of crazy race today? How did you find time to come here?
Well, we live here, so it was easy to come over.
Yeah, but you live like 200 miles away, isn't it?
Well,
something?
Sure, it's like 100, yeah.
Yeah, for Kyle, 100 miles is like you going to the corner Walgreens. You know, like he was, oh, it's only 100 miles. I'll do that 6 times in a day. All right, well, let's jump into the presentation section of this and see what IONNA has to say. So that was where I was planning on putting the recording of that presentation, but it went on for almost 2 hours. So I made a standalone video. There's a link to that video in the description of this video. So what we're going to do now is jump to my discussions with some of the representatives of the founding members of IONNA and also with Seth Cutler, the CEO of IONNA. So I'm here with Nico Dettmer from Mercedes-Benz. Nico, tell us a little bit about what do you do for Mercedes?
Currently, I'm the COO of the so-called charging unit based in Stuttgart, so headquarter driven. We are responsible for the charging product and service portfolio on a global scale. And my specific focus is on collaborations, joint ventures, and HPC activities. Okay,
you know, one of the things I found interesting is, and I just spoke with the GM folks because they're doing something similar, is, you know, you're a founding member of IONNA, so I'm sure you poured a lot of money into this venture. It costs a lot to do this. But you didn't just decide, well, that's it, we've done enough for charging. You're building out your own network in addition to that here in the US. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about why was that necessary? Why did you decide it's great what we're doing with IONNA, but we're going to do more?
It's really because we need chargers in the US, period. Mm-hmm. And not only chargers, but really chargers with a high quality and high reliability to really boost the charging experience. And because the need was so big, we decided really to go for a second or 2 train strategy, as we call it, So having our own network and having IONNA, because we practice also in other regions, that it's really good to partner up to even scale it bigger than our own network. So therefore we really decided to go these two train strategy.
Right, so your own network, you're going to continue to expand that. That's not going to slowly phase out as IONNA increases, or what could we expect?
We are regularly discussing, so to say, and evaluating, okay, what is the best strategy, so to say, but we are really on the way. I mean, currently we are talking about 500 plugs, which are open and live for public. You will see these numbers will increase up to 800 until end of the year. So we are clearly on the way to expand, so to say, also in this network.
Yeah, I mean, that's in itself makes you one of the bigger charging networks in the country, just Mercedes, let alone what you're doing with IONNA. So let's get back to IONNA. We're here, this is IONNA Day. You know, the charging experience in the US has not been good. With first generation DC fast charging, it's been lacking. You know, there's been a lot of mistakes made. Could you talk a little bit about what are you hoping to do that's better with IONNA than maybe, without naming networks, what we've seen with some of the other networks?
I mean, of course, we collected a lot of learnings, so to say, out of Europe, out of other regions. Happy to put it into this network. Also, the other shareholders are really trying to collect feedback, integrating it in the DNA, so to say, of IONNA. But it's really about IONNA puts the driver first, and this is what we need. And therefore, really jointly and doing these kind of interoperability tests, for example, even before launching cars, before launching new apps, this really ensures that the quality raises up. We have deep dive insights into data and so on. So it's really about the collaboration. And you can assume if 8 automakers, global automakers, did it together, the results will definitely be better than the old and existing ones.
Yeah, and it seems so far so good. You're only a year into this, and you're saying you're going to hit the goals that you had set, about 100 sites, about 1,000 plugs in the first year, which is, you know, more than any other network has done in their first year of deployment. Nobody has installed
it's IONNA speed, plugs. So it's not only a phrase, it's really IONNA speed.
Yeah, we hear that a lot here today. IONNA speed, customer centric. But that's good, because that is what your mission is. You know, quick deployment and being customer focused, which is what we need. So let's just talk a little bit about Mercedes and their EV, say, strategy or plans. You know, we've had some different political climate in the U.S. in the last year or so. We've lost our tax credits. That's probably going to some degree, hurt electric vehicle adoption. I think perhaps maybe hurt your products less because you're at the higher end of the spiel. People that buy a $100,000 Mercedes EV might be able to absorb that more than the guy buying the $35,000 Chevy Equinox. But has the political climate and the loss of the tax credit changed your philosophy at all as far as how you're going to expand your electric portfolio in the US?
I mean, in general, it's really staying the same. We truly believe that electric mobility is providing a more sustainable and it's the best way for these carbon neutral future, so to say. And doing this is really about our strategies, not only to provide the most desirable cars, electric cars, but really also to have these compelling charging ecosystem, including offerings for our customers, which are best in class, so when it comes to charging experience. And therefore it's really about that we have these 3 pillar strategy. Taking influence in HPC activities with our own network, as well as IONNA with the joint ventures, but not to forget in public charging, our charging service, which is MB Charge Public. So where we really collect all the CPOs, we are about 90% publicly available charging dots, which we provide through the service to our customer. And then of course integrated in the car, purely in the navigation system, that it's not a topic, okay, that I have to plan routes or whatever. So sitting in the car, putting in the target, and then just trust the car. The car will navigate you, will search the right locations, so that customer experience is really, really getting better. So, and this is not changing. We still believe this is important to really boost the adoption on EV, which is of course our goal.
Okay, final question. How do I get a yellow G-Wagon for a week or two loan? Because this thing is slamming. I love it.
Yeah, probably try to go to your next dealership, Mercedes-Benz dealership. They are happy to have test drives. And test drives is really cool because there are so much rumors on EVs. Really test it out, make your own opinion, and afterwards you can have decisions, but it's really tested. And therefore I could only appreciate if you visit dealerships and ask for these nice beauty cars, even if it's yellow, like this one. I'm
gonna have to make a lot more videos to be able to afford this guy in my driveway, but I'll keep at it. Listen, Nico, thank you very much for joining me. Good luck with IONNA, and good luck with Mercedes electric vehicle strategy.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right, so I'm here with Gregg Swartz from Toyota. Gregg, tell us a little bit about what you do for Toyota.
Sure. So I'm the general manager for EV charging solutions. I have responsibility for our public charging strategy and our data analytics, all things BEV-related charging.
All right, well, it makes sense that you would be here at the IONNA media event. Tell us a little bit about why Toyota joined IONNA. You know, Toyota has a rich history for battery electric vehicles, but hybrid battery electric vehicles. Why did you make the decision to join this partnership and spread DC fast charging around the country?
Yeah, so I think everyone realizes that public charging is a barrier to BEV sales. We saw the same thing. We evaluated, do we want to create our own network? Do we want to try to partner with certain companies? And we felt that IONNA offered us the best option from a long-term strategy play. Their focus on the customer experience is really aligned with Toyota. We focus on our customer, that is our reason for being, and we felt that the opportunity to get in with this public charging joint venture, help influence the direction, and we also like the technological aspect of it, the interoperability, the testing, making sure our vehicles are ready with the chargers before we go to market. That was critical in our decision.
Okay, and the interesting thing is, you know, there's a lot of networks out there. I mean, well, the interesting thing is what you just said, that you actually thought about possibly making your own Toyota charging network. That's super interesting. I've never heard that before. But there's a lot of networks out there. You know, we don't need to name the names. There's a lot of big networks out there. Some of them are more successful than others. There's well documented the problems we've had with some of the networks here in the US. What are you hoping that separates IONNA from the other networks that maybe don't have the best reputation?
I think for us with IONNA, being able to collaborate with the other OEMs, so we're one of 8 OEMs, and the financial backing creates that stability. There's a lot of networks right now. Some of them may or may not be here in the next 3 to 5 years. I think there's going to be consolidation. So that financial backing and commitment from the OEMs is critical. We're also very impressed with the leadership that they brought in. The level of expertise with Seth and his leadership team has been really instrumental in the direction of IONNA. And I feel like the vision of what they're trying to go for in terms of not just reliable charging, but that quality customer experience is perfectly aligned with what we want as a brand.
Okay, and you know, I've been asking some of the other brands this question, that the political climate has changed a little bit here in the US of late. Yes. And you know, we lost the federal tax credit. You know, that's going to hurt sales, particularly on, say, the more affordable vehicles. And Toyota falls in that category. You know, yes. You're not in the Mercedes G-Wagon sandbox. Right. You know, and so it might hurt a company like you a little bit more because it's that $7,500 is a greater percentage of your overall sale. Yeah. Has that, say, cause concern that maybe you should slow up with the investment on the chargers, or do you think that they have to be in place anyway in order for you to sell cars now and in the future?
I think it's the latter. I mean, we look at it in terms of our customers want BEVs. We offer a multi-pathway, you know, BEVs, hybrids, fuel cell, plug-in hybrid, and ICE vehicles. We see the BEV trend continuing. It might have slackened off a bit right now, but there's going to be used BEVs coming to market that off-lease. Those customers will want BEVs. We see that as we offer more BEVs in our product portfolio, you will see customers, they will make a decision, and it will be an economic decision that it is worth their while to buy a BEV. So we see, right now, while the demand has kind of leveled off, we think in the future there will be continued growth in the market because there's continued options. And the battery will improve, the range will increase, improve battery performance, and it's just a great vehicle to drive. I'm actually looking at BEVs for my teenage daughters to be able to drive back and forth because they don't drive very far, it's safe, they can go charge at work, they could charge at an IONNA station, it's a great option.
I'm talking about BEVs. For the first time, there's not a Toyota Tacoma in my driveway. Since the mid-90s, there's been a Tacoma in my driveway. When do I get my BEV Tacoma?
Yes. So I got to give you the standard answer. You've heard this before. I can't comment on future product plans. I can only say that an electric Tacoma is under consideration.
Okay, listen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. Good luck with IONNA and good luck with Toyota's electric vehicle plans. Hopefully, you know, that the portfolio will continue to proliferate and we get a lot of options, including pickup truck options.
All right, thank you, Tom. My pleasure.
All right, so I'm here today with William Hoitchkiss from GM Energy. William, why don't you tell us a little bit about what do you do for GM Energy?
Yeah, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for GM Energy and the head of public charging for the company. So as you may know, we've created GM Energy to help solve the EV charging adoption challenge. So we bring products like home chargers, we work with partners to bring bi-directional charging and also public charging to our customers.
Okay, you're a founding member of IONNA, GM is. And the interesting thing that I found, and I've made a separate video about this about a month ago, was the interesting thing is I would have figured that when GM decided to be a founding member of IONNA, put a ton of money into IONNA. I know all the automakers must be pouring a lot of money into this venture because look at what you're doing. But that's not, you decided not to just do that. You continue doing other DC fast charging projects with Pilot, Flying J Pilot, with ChargePoint now. You've got the East Coast Corridor, or at least I drove the East Coast Corridor up to Niagara Falls using your network. Tell me a little bit more about why didn't you just say, okay, we're doing IONNA, we don't need to do anything else?
Yeah, we see it as an opportunity to work with a collection of partners. We strongly value the IONNA partnership with 8 other OEMs because we can all combine our efforts together to solve an industry challenge. But we also see the need to work with partners like EVgo, Pilot, Flying J, and ChargePoint because we continue to serve multiple different customer use cases. We look at how do we serve not only the metropolitan areas, how do we serve highway corridor areas where it'd be made for long commutes, but then also with ChargePoint we have like the destination charging. So for customers going to locations, they have charging solutions for where they are.
Yeah, and so I mean obviously GM's committed to electrification.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got this whole division, GM Energy, too. It's not just like GM is doing DC fast charging. You created a division for energy, for charging, for on-site energy storage, and so forth. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Like what is GM Energy? What are you hoping to accomplish?
It's very strategic. The primary goal is to enable EV adoption. We want to make sure customers who buy our projects have charging solutions, whether it's at home or in the public. But then you take that a step further, we have an opportunity to delight our customers by unlocking additional functionality, turning a car like this beautiful Hummer into a bi-directional charger to bring resilience. But in the future, doing things like V2G, where you can actually save money, make money, and then work together as the distributed network. You couple that with our energy storage system, the power bank, and then you have a whole ecosystem. And that's really the secret to our success.
Okay, so getting back to IONNA, there's a lot of networks out there. I don't need to name them, and many of them are expanding pretty rapidly. But you decided that you want to be part of IONNA and have a hand in on the future of EV charging. What are you hoping to get out of this? Like, as opposed to those other programs that you're just doing with other partners, this is different.
Right.
So what are you hoping to accomplish with IONNA?
Yeah, so I think we bring the industry knowledge of all the different OEMs who have their own experiences with their vehicles and their customers, and we help to inform the IONNA solution. So we know that we're in the, I'll call it the third inning of a 9-inning baseball game of building out infrastructure to ultimately have enough DCFCs to meet all of our customers' demand we see in the future. By working with the OEMs, we can do that even faster. We accelerate it, and we're all very much customer focused. So I love that the IONNA's mission is to try to bring customer solutions. We all have that same goal, and I think we'll be successful together.
Listen, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Tom.
it.
I really appreciate
Keep going forward with charging. We need charging in all shapes and sizes, and home charging, which maybe at some time in the future you and I will talk about more intimately. But today's Fast Charging Day with IONNA. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Tom, and thank you all your viewers. Thank you.
So I'm here with Sebastien Henot from Stellantis. Sebastien, tell us, what exactly do you do with Stellantis?
So I'm in charge of developing the products that are around the charging experience. So it's a lot of off-board, typically selecting the chargers you have at home, finding adapters that work, but last but not least, the free-to-move charge that allows our customers to use public charging.
Yeah, and a lot of people might not know, I mean, Stellantis is a global brand. They have a lot of electric vehicles in Europe. Not as many here in the US. You've had plug-in hybrids for a while, but now you're getting into the full BEV. You know, a lot of, I think, Americans might not think of the Stellantis brand as being big into electric vehicles, but in Europe you are. You've got a lot of fully electric vehicles in Europe, so you've got a lot of experience with electric vehicles. So tell me a little bit about why Stellantis decided to be an IONNA partner. Like, what was the impetus to saying, yeah, we're going to throw a ton of money into this, rather than just letting the other guys do it? Because you could have stayed out of it and let the other companies spend all the money and you benefit from the network anyway. Why did you want to be part of this?
So I'm not going to speak about the money, but I can tell you what the experience is that anybody who drove an EV and decided to do the highway trip, going to see like the cousins you mentioned before, they will stop and they will charge and they will face the same problem. Like, first time, I need to find a charger. Then I need to find a charger that works. And then I need to find a charger in a cool area where I can stop and everything. And there's a problem today. There's not enough chargers, let's face it. Even if, I mean, we announced we're going to have Tesla very soon. Even with those guys, there's not enough chargers. So might as well trying to solve all these problems at once. And as I mentioned before, having this BlackBerry to Apple moment where we create the best experience for our customers so they can finally take those beautiful babies on the highway and drive far and do some highway trips.
Yeah, you mentioned you just did a trip, right? And do you have any problems with it? You mentioned you did have range anxiety at first. You know, tell us a little bit about what you just did.
So yeah, even the pros have anxiety. So we took the car, the exact same one, different color, but the same one with my wife, 2 kids and 2 dogs, not small dogs, Aussies. So packed in the back and 1,600 miles back and forth, going to beautiful Georgia from Florida. And I want to say the first stop I did was the rechargery at Daytona Beach. And I loved it. It's not like, oh, I had to charge and spend 25 minutes. I went there, plugged my car, tapped on the app, charge here. 2 seconds after, charging starts, even faster than the charger. Charger took a little bit 1 second after. And then meet my wife to the barbecue restaurant next door. Then we spend 45 minutes to the Bass Pro Shop, come back 97%, IONNA price, no extra fees, nothing, back on the highway. That was awesome. It was not always awesome. I mentioned to you, I went to a competitor of IONNA. It was crowded, people using their free charging. And I had to reroute to another station that was not even in my network, in the free-to-move charge network, and I arrived there with 1%.
So white-knuckled, were you squeezing the steering wheel a little bit?
I like to say charging on the highway is like swimming on the deep end, in the deep end. Like charging on the highway at 1% with your wife and kids, it's like middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I know. But the thing about it is, once you've done it a few times, the stress goes away a little bit. You're like, I'm going to make it. I've done this before, but the first time, it is stressful, a little white knuckle. So a little bit about Stellantis in general. We talked that you do have a lot of electric offerings, particularly in Europe, but now you're bringing them to the US. The political climate has changed here in the last couple of years, and we've seen some automakers pull back dramatically and say, well, maybe we need to rethink this thing. Is Stellantis going to continue to bring us electric products, or are you going to be on the side of, well, let's pull back and see if the market comes to us?
So I cannot answer this question. I
had to ask.
You tried. But I can give you my experience as an immigrant. I've been in the States for 13 years. In 3 years could be totally different. So put yourself in the shoes of an OEM that invested a lot of money in those multi-energy platforms. We can do whatever we want, basically. I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but today we're proposing those fantastic EVs. And if you want funkier one like the Dodge Charger, you can too. Tomorrow we're launching the range extender EVs that were announced. And so if we need to, we can adapt our strategy how we want. That's the beauty of those multi-energy platforms. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is to propose the best solution for the customers.
Yeah.
If they want an EV, they get an EV. If they want an ICE, they want an ICE. And if they want something in between, they can. But if they want an EV, they need to charge. And this is where IONNA enters.
All right, listen, thank you very much for your time. Good luck with IONNA and good luck with all your EV lineup. And hopefully we'll see more from Stellantis in coming years.
You will, and thanks for what you're doing. It's really important that people get educated about how to charge and everything. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I'll keep doing, you keep making the cars, I'll keep telling people how to charge them.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm here with Seth Cutler, CEO of IONNA. Seth, I guess congratulations are kind of in order because it looks like if you don't hit your first year target, you're going to come very close by the end of this month. You've got a ton of chargers coming online. I mean, as of today, you've got about 50 open, but by the end of this year, you're going to be close to 100. That's how many, you have as many that you're going to open up in the next 4 weeks
as we have open right now.
As you have open right now. And hopefully, is that a sign of what we're going to see moving forward?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we haven't announced numbers for next year yet, but I can tell you it's going to be a bigger pace than what you saw this year, right? And what we've talked about is we have over 4,000 charging bays contracted right now, and on average we're doing about 10 to 12 charging bays a site, so folks can do the math on that. And most of those are in permitting right now, so we're gearing up and prepping for a big 2026.
Yeah, and honestly, even what you've done so far, I follow this industry closely. No other network has installed this amount of charging sites and bays in their first year. It's not even close. I mean, Electrify America, for instance, is in like their 9th year, and they're up to about 6,000 bays. And you're closing in on 1,000. It took Tesla many years to get to 1,000 bays, back, but they were very early movers. So it's hard to really, they were inventing this stuff.
We're definitely, we have an advantage of not being the first to market.
Yeah, you can learn from some of their mistakes, but talk about mistakes. You've obviously made some mistakes. I mean, what have you learned that coming into this maybe you weren't expecting? Is there something that you learned and now you've moved on from that you could share with us?
Yeah, I think we definitely, like everybody else, we're cutting our teeth in terms of power and permits, how to work with jurisdictions. We came in trying to build a different product format in terms of buying old gas stations. We thought we could do it easily, and when we wound up, it's pretty hard. We still got it done, but I think there's definitely some stuff that we came in thinking it would be a little bit faster, that it's taken a bit longer, that caused us to say, okay, we got to make an adjustment. Let's go sign more sites and fill the pipeline faster to overcome some of the sites that are slowing us down. And for sure, even the first, when we launched our first sites last year, we thought we had it all figured out about our screen flows, integration. We found bugs. We found things that we thought were right, and when we actually got out in the box ring, got punched in the nose, went, nope, we got to pivot. So we've been constantly iterating on the customer experience and making sure that the way customers interact with the charging equipment is better, and we're seeing that in our customer satisfaction reports.
Yeah, that's the thing. As far as customer satisfaction reports, a lot has been said here today from various people that you're doing focus groups and you're listening to feedback and you're getting good feedback. Is there anything in particular that maybe was negative feedback that you worked on? Because I know I've seen some things on X and posted about, why aren't there canopies at this site or something like that. Was there something that you learned?
Yeah, early on we had a $50 hold on credit cards, and actually after $50 we'd actually kick you out, right? And that really upset us that we couldn't figure out how to fix that faster. But we changed that, and now it's a $30 hold, and you can and it actually allows you to charge your car without having to put a bunch of money on your credit card. So that was a big piece. We were able to get PNC launched across 7 different OEMs in the last 22 months, including 2 non-member OEMs. So Rivian and Ford now are part of the network from a plug-in charge perspective. And then in addition to that, we're looking at 2 additional ones through next year. So by the end of next year, or even sooner, we'll have 9 OEMs with PNC on this network.
And that's really the best way to charge, to just roll up, plug in, and not have to worry about fiddling with apps, which you're not going to have now, at least in the beginning.
That's correct.
You left the door open that if you think that it's better for your customers to have an app in the future, you'll do it. But for now, there's not going to be any IONNA
apps. That's correct. There's no app in development right now. It doesn't mean that we're not thinking about it on a longer time horizon right now. But as I tell people, we have a dozen apps. We've got multiple OEMs with apps. We do roaming today with other platforms. So what we want to make sure is that anything that we invest our time and money in is actually going to drive customer benefit.
Yeah, and what we talked about, I don't want another app. I have enough charging apps,
Right.
but there are some advantages, like to see what the pricing is. But you said that you might have a solution for that.
I
You
have
might
a solution for that.
it's possible to put it on a website or something like that. And also location, so people like to know where you are. And with a dedicated app, like let's say if somebody wants to just use your network, they could open it up and see
where it
everything.
is, right.
Well, but you'll have some sort of a method for people to be able to find all your locations.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're integrating into PlugShare today, where you can go do that. We're doing a deeper integration with the OEMs that you'll start to hear more about early next year as well. So, and then we're also working on our phase 2 of our website that'll start to open that up in terms of providing a lot more visibility to where we are, where we're going.
And one of the things we learned earlier when we had the Q&A session, which is going to be a separate video I'm going to have on State of Charge, is that your balance of rechargeries and rechargery ats is going to flip from where it is now.
Yep.
The rechargery ats, where you locate a rechargery at a partner site, right now you have many more of them than your own dedicated rechargeries. That's because they were just easier and quicker to install.
Yep.
But long term, you're going to have more rechargeries than rechargery ats.
So our relays will be a much smaller piece where we don't have an anchor tenant, but the rechargeries plus the rechargery apps will be the majority of the network together.
Okay.
So we want to have really core partners that we can work with on the retail side, plus really start to build out and have more amenities that we can build ourselves. And so, last year when we did our early sites, it was really important to build a different experience with our Apex and Garner site, et cetera. We haven't really opened a couple, or haven't opened many since then. Yeah. And what you're starting to see this month is we just opened our Lyman site, I think a week ago. Forest Park, Georgia opens today. The building will be a couple months behind it, and there's 4 more of those coming in the next month or 2. So you're starting to see the next wave of the full rechargeries coming now.
Okay, so last question. I know I'm not going to get an answer, but I have to ask it because so many of my followers keep that. Just look at my X profile. Everybody's asking me. IONNA stands for Ions of North America.
You want to know about Canada?
Yeah, Canada, and some people even asking about Mexico too. I know your priority is the U.S., but is there can the Canadian EV drivers at least see on the horizon when you're going to come up there?
I can promise it's going to happen. I just can't tell you when yet, right? And I know it's hard for people, but it's really important. I think I talked about this today about IONNA Speed is this relentless focus, determination around the customer. I want to make sure we get the US right. It's easy to start to spread out and create distraction for the organization. We want to deliver value to Canada and Canadian drivers as well. It's definitely in our ethos and in our roadmap. We're just not ready yet to do that until we get it fully baked in the United States.
Okay, well listen, my Canadian followers, I asked it. I'll continue to ask Seth until he gives me an answer, but I do understand the philosophy of focusing on getting it right here before you spread it out. But you will get IONNA. It's just going to take a little bit longer. Sorry about that. Seth, thank you for coming on again.
Thank you, Tom. Always
Good
a
luck
pleasure.
and continued success. And hopefully sometime soon we'll have a conversation.
That'd be great.
And we'll get some continuing IONNA updates out of you guys.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's pretty much a wrap on IONNA's first official media day. What did we learn? Well, even though the company is only at around 50 open sites right now with somewhere around 500 charging bays, they actually believe that by the end of December, 3 weeks from now, they're going to double the amount of open sites that they have. That's because they have so many sites that are just about finished and ready to be turned on. So they may not hit the 100 site, 1,000 charging bays by December 31st, but they said they definitely will maybe a few weeks into January. So that's close enough for me. I'm surprised because I went to this media event really asking the principals, like, what went wrong? Because I'm looking at the IONNA site and seeing that, wow, at the time, the day before I left to go down to North Carolina, they only had like 45 or 46 sites open. So I'm like, they're not even halfway there. There's no way they're going to make 100 sites by the end of this year. But it appears as though they're going to, at least that's what they're telling us, or be very close to doing so. And as I mentioned in the video, this is only their first year. IONNA opened their first site in December of last year. They only had, I think, 2 sites open on January 1st of 2025. And to get to that 100 site mark in basically 12 months is a tremendous accomplishment. Nobody else has done anything even close to that. Even Tesla, when it first started, it took, I think, 16 months to get to 50 sites in the US. I think they had like 13 or 14 in Europe at the time. So if you want to say they have 63 or 64 sites in 16 months, that's fine. But IONNA's going to have 100 sites in about a year, 12 to 13 months. So they've really hit the ground running, and they're only going to ramp up from here. If you look at the numbers that they promised, the 30,000 charging bays by the end of this decade, they have to accelerate this pace and start opening up sites at a tremendous rate. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in 2026. The first year is always the hardest, just to overcome that inertia and just get moving. And now that the ball's rolling, we should see big things in 2026. And I'm going to be doing an update series with IONNA over the course of this year to give out updates every few months. So look forward for that series. So in addition to them, say, hitting their goals or coming very close to it, we also learned that while they're installing all 400 kilowatt chargers now, they're certainly open and have their eye on higher powered chargers. And they'll also consider other vendors. Alpatronic is their vendor of choice right now, but if another vendor comes along and offers a product that they feel is a better solution, IONNA's open for using other products. I asked Seth about Canada. I have a lot of my followers asking me, Tom, please ask them when are we going to get IONNA sites in Canada? It doesn't look like anytime soon, unfortunately, but they definitely are going to Canada. It's hard to tell. It doesn't seem like it's really on their roadmap for 2026. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe at some point in the year, they'll open up and talk about potential Canadian sites, but that really seems like it's on the back burner. But I have been assured that they are going to open sites in Canada. They just don't have a timeline, or they're not willing to communicate that timeline just yet. I also found it really interesting that the Toyota rep told me that before joining IONNA, Toyota actually considered making its own DC fast charging network. And that's really interesting, because when you hear some of the high up Toyota managers and representatives talk, they really don't talk swimmingly about electric vehicles. They talk a lot about hydrogen and hybrids and so forth. But hearing that they actually had discussions about starting their own network makes you kind of understand that they do get it. They just don't want to communicate that yet, because they don't have a strong presence in the BEV market, and you don't want to talk about product that you really can't sell. And Toyota's all about hybrids right now, and that's what they want to promote. But they know where this market's going, and the fact that they even considered doing their own network here in North America should be proof enough that they're going to have a strong BEV presence hopefully soon. IONNA told me in the last interviews that I had a few weeks back with Phil Rach that they're not developing an app. But we did learn today that that could just be a bandwidth issue, that app may be on their roadmap. It's not right now, it's not a priority, but if they feel that that would serve their customers better, they would develop their own app. So that's also another thing that's interesting. And there also will be some sort of a discounted plan at some point where you can join a membership, perhaps pay a monthly fee, or maybe even the individual OEMs will bundle that in with the car. Like you'll get 3 years of a free membership on the IONNA network or so forth. They don't really want to talk about their specific plans, but each individual OEM that's partnered here with the IONNA network, they have their own ability to provide access to the network. Now, they'll probably have to pay IONNA for each one of the customers that get some sort of special discount or whatever, but I think that's on the table. They also understand that these free unlimited charging networks are not the path forward. I talked to, as you will see in the next video I'm going to post, I mentioned there's going to be another video coming, and that's the discussion panel with 7 of the 8 founding members of IONNA, a representative from each company. It's about an hour-long discussion we had, and then the Q&A. Again, too long to squeeze into this video, so I'm going to be posting that in about a week. I do ask each member to talk about their policy on free unlimited charging plans, because I think it was a disaster with Electrify America. It just clogged up the chargers. It brought people out to DC fast chargers that could charge at home locally, but since they had free charging programs, why not head over to the Electrify America station and fill up for free? that clogged up the stations. So people that really needed them, that were on road trips, had to wait to plug in. So I think that was a disaster. I think the principals here at IONNA understand that, and they're not going to do some sort of a free unlimited charging program. And the best news that we got, and that I talked to the IONNA people and also representatives from all the companies, is that nobody seems to say that they are even considering backing off their initial plans of deploying 30,000 charging bays by 2030. Now, I mentioned to many of them together and then individually that, look, you understand here in the US in the last year, there's been a change in the administration and the electric vehicles are no longer, say, the soup du jour. The current administration canceled the federal tax credit, and some of the OEMs now are even backing off some of their production plans for electric vehicles. So if they're going to make less cars, are you going to install less chargers? And to a man, everybody I spoke to said no. They said, look, even if we didn't sell another electric vehicle, we need the charging bays for the vehicles that are on the road now. There's millions of electric vehicles on the roads in North America or here in the US. So we need these chargers. We need them now. So everybody seemed to say, no, we're going straight ahead. We haven't changed our goals. We're not going to pull back investment. We're gonna continue forward, and our aim is our first aim is 30,000 charging bays by 2030. So hopefully they'll be able to stick with that. Okay, I mentioned that this isn't the last video. There's going to be one more video in a few days, and that's going to be the discussion panel with the members of IONNA, the founding members of IONNA. 7 of the 8, Honda couldn't make it to this, so they didn't have a representative, but a representative from each of the other companies spoke on a discussion panel for almost an hour, answered questions from IONNA, from there's like a facilitator there that was asking the questions, but then at the end we got a chance to ask a few questions also. So that'll be my final video. We're getting 3 videos out of IONNA Media Day. Look, I think IONNA is a big deal, and I know a lot of my followers are super interested in what they're doing, and I think you're also going to be interested to hear what the individual automakers have to say, because they all have their own philosophies and they all have their own answers to the questions. So I think that's going to be a worthwhile video to watch. Also, look for that in about a week. That's all I have here today. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.